What if I told you that the most expensive, high-tech piece of gear you own is the very thing sending fish swimming for cover? No, I'm not talking about your auger or your flasher. I'm talking about that bright, colorful jacket you're wearing. Today, we're tackling a huge debate. Does the color of your jacket, your bibs, even your sled, actually matter when you're on the ice? And I'm not talking about old wives' tales. We're going to look at some real-world observations and a bit of science that might just blow your mind and change the way you dress for the ice forever. The answer could be the difference between a full bucket and going home empty-handed. So before we even start, let me know in the comments, do you think fish can see you up on the ice? Yes or no? Let's see where everyone stands. For years, the old-timers have been split right down the middle on this. Half of them will tell you, son, if you ain't in camo, you ain't catching. The other half will be sitting out there in a bright orange jacket, pulling up fish and laughing, saying, it doesn't matter one bit. Most of us just grab the warmest thing we own, right? We're focused on augers, flashers, and finding the right bait. The color of our coat is usually the last thing on our minds. But what if that's the biggest mistake we're making? We spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars on gear to give us an edge. We drive for hours and sit in the cold for one reason, to catch fish. It's time we finally figured out if we are our own worst enemy just by what we choose to wear. Let's start with a scene you know all too well. It's early morning. The sun is just starting to hit the ice. You've got your holes drilled, your gear is set up, and you're hunkered down over your flasher, waiting for that first red line to appear. But nothing happens. An hour goes by, then two. You start to second-guess everything. Your bait, your location, your jigging technique. You look around, and you see another fisherman about 100 yards away, and he's pulling a fish out of the hole, then another. You watch him for a few minutes, trying to figure out what he's doing differently, and that's when you might start wondering about things you never considered before. Now let's get right into the biggest argument against this whole idea. The guys who say color doesn't matter will tell you, the ice is thick, there's snow on top, there's no way a fish can see my red jacket from 15 feet down. And on the surface, that logic seems pretty sound. We think of ice and snow as a solid, opaque barrier between our world and theirs. For a long time, I believed this too. It just makes sense that a fish's world is dark and that they're only focused on what's right in front of them, like your lure. But this way of thinking ignores one of the most powerful and important forces in nature, and that's light. Think about how light behaves. Even on a cloudy day, a tremendous amount of light is hitting the surface of that frozen lake. Snow, in particular, doesn't just block light, it diffuses it. It scatters the light in every direction. This can actually make the world under the ice brighter and more evenly lit than you might think. It creates a sort of soft, glowing ceiling. So instead of a dark, cave-like environment, the fish are living under a giant light panel. This is the first piece of the puzzle. The underwater world isn't as dark as we imagine, which means the fish's ability to see things above them is better than we assume. Okay, so what about clear ice with no snow? This is where things get really interesting. On a day with black ice, light penetrates almost perfectly. Your presence on the ice is no longer hidden by that soft, diffused glow of snow. You become a distinct shape, a silhouette against a bright sky. Imagine you're a perch or a walleye looking up. Your entire world is the color of the water and the bright ceiling of ice above. Anything that breaks that pattern is going to get your attention immediately, and not necessarily in a good way. Fish are hardwired for survival. An unusual shape above them usually means one thing: danger, a predator. Here's where we have to flip the script on the common wisdom. We've always been told that bright colors are the problem, your neon green bibs or your blaze orange hat. But what if the real enemy isn't the color itself, but the contrast? Think about it from the fish's perspective, and what is the background they see when they look up? It's the sky. On a cloudy, snowy day, the sky is overwhelmingly white or light gray. So what stands out more against a bright white background? A bright yellow jacket or a dark black one? The black jacket creates a much sharper, more defined silhouette. It looks a lot more like a predator, like a big bird, than a color that kind of blends in with the bright, diffused light. This brings us to the concept of shadows. Every single thing on the ice casts a shadow. You, your sled, your shack. When you're standing or moving around, you're creating a large, moving shadow on the bottom of the ice. To a fish, especially in shallow water, that's terrifying. It's an instant signal that a predator is overhead. This is instinct. They don't stop to analyze it, they just bolt. A bright color might cast a softer, less defined shadow, while a dark object will cast a very sharp, very scary one. So the guy in the all-black ice fishing suit might actually be spooking more fish than the guy in the bright red one, just by the shadow he's casting. Let's talk a little bit about fish biology. Fish have what's called a cone of vision. It's basically a window that lets them see the world above the water. The deeper the fish is, the wider its window is. Fish that live in shallow water, like panfish, are constantly on the lookout for danger from above. Eagles, herons, otters, fishermen, their survival depends on spotting threats from the sky. Their eyes are literally designed to pick up movement and contrast on the surface. So when you walk over them, drill a hole, or even just stand there, you are a major event in their world. You are a potential threat appearing in their window. Now let's put this into a real-world scenario. Let's say you're fishing for bluegill in 6 feet of water on a clear day with very little snow on the ice. This is the absolute worst-case scenario. The fish are close to you, the light is penetrating deep, and they can see every move you make. In this situation, wearing a bright yellow jacket is like putting up a giant neon sign that says, "Danger." Every time you move your arm to jig your rod, that flash of color is registered. They might not know what you are, but they know you're not supposed to be there, and a spooked bluegill won't bite. It's as simple as that. But what about deep water? Let's say you're chasing lake trout in 80 feet of water. Does your jacket color matter then? The answer is probably not as much. At that depth, the amount of light that reaches the bottom is significantly less. Your shadow is diffused and your silhouette is much smaller and less defined from the fish's perspective. The fish down there are more concerned with other fish trying to eat them than they are with a faint shadow 80 feet above. In this case, the color doesn't matter. Crowd is probably right. The depth provides you with all the camouflage you need, so the rules change depending on how deep you're fishing. Let's go back to that guy who's out fishing you. You notice he's wearing a dull gray jacket. It's not camouflage, it's just a neutral color. It blends in with the overcast sky. He's also not moving around a lot. He's sitting on a bucket, staying still. He's minimizing his presence. He understands, maybe without even thinking about it, that being quiet and being still is just as important as the color of his lure. His lack of sharp color and sudden movement means the fish below him are less likely to be on high alert. They are more relaxed, more willing to investigate a bait, and more likely to bite. So, is the answer to wear all white on the ice? A lot of ice anglers who are serious about this stuff swear by it. They wear white bibs, white jackets, and even use white sleds. Their theory is to blend in perfectly with the snow and the bright sky. They want to be as invisible as possible from below. They treat ice fishing like they are hunting, and in many ways they are. They are stalking a creature in its own environment, and the first rule of hunting is not to get spotted. This might seem extreme to the average weekend fisherman, but for those targeting spooky fish in clear, shallow water, it could be the single most important factor for success. Think about the noise factor too. It's all connected. The same fisherman who wears a bright orange jacket is often the same one who's stomping around on the ice, dropping his gear and drilling holes every 5 minutes. The fisherman who is concerned about his color is also likely to be the one who walks softly, places his gear down gently, and tries to be as stealthy as possible. It's about an overall mindset. Are you just a person on top of the ice, or are you an intruder in the fish's living room? How you think about that question will influence everything you do, including how you dress and how you move. There's also the issue of the hole itself. When you drill a hole, you create a direct pipeline of light into the water. If you're wearing a bright color and you lean directly over that hole, you are literally shining that color down into the water column. Fish are attracted to light, but a sudden, unnatural flash of color appearing right above them is an alarm bell. This is especially true when you're sight fishing in a shack. People paint the inside of their shacks black for a reason, to eliminate any light and color contamination from above so they can see the fish, and more importantly, so the fish can't see them. Let's consider the species of fish. A hungry, aggressive pike might not care what color you're wearing. Its instinct is to ambush and attack, and it might be so focused on your lure that it ignores everything else. But a finicky crappie or a wary trout is a different story. These fish are much more sensitive to their surroundings. They've survived by being cautious. For them, any little thing that seems out of place is a reason to stay away. So the type of fish you're targeting should also influence how much you worry about your visibility. If you're after the smart, spooky ones, you need every advantage you can get. The counter-argument you'll often hear is, well, our lures are brightly colored. Why would a fish be scared of my jacket but attracted to my lure? That's a great question, but it compares two very different things. A lure is small. It's designed to imitate a food source, like a small minnow or an insect. It's presented within the fish's environment. A fisherman, on the other hand, is a giant, unnatural shape that appears outside of their environment. One is a potential meal, the other is a potential predator. The fish can tell the difference. Their survival literally depends on it. So, we've established that in shallow, clear conditions, your visibility matters a lot, but what can you do about it? You don't need to run out and buy an all-white Arctic hunter suit. The solution can be simple. First, consider wearing more muted colors. Grays, tans, light blues, and even white are great choices. They create less of a harsh silhouette against the sky. If your favorite warm jacket is bright red, maybe just be more mindful of your movement when you're fishing in the shallows. Try to avoid standing up and walking around right over the spot you're fishing. Another simple trick is to use the snow to your advantage. If there's snow on the ice, pile it up around your hole. This creates a wall that blocks the fish from seeing your silhouette when you lean over. It also blocks the wind, which is a nice bonus. This simple act of creating a small snowbank around your fishing area can make a huge difference in how much the fish are aware of your presence. It's a low-tech solution to a high-tech problem. It's about being smart and using the environment to help you instead of fighting against it. Let's think about the evolution of ice fishing gear. 20 years ago, most gear was drab, army green, navy blue, maybe some brown. Now the trend is toward high visibility colors like lime green, bright orange, and electric blue. This is done for safety reasons, which is incredibly important. You want to be seen by other people on snowmobiles or in vehicles. So there's a trade-off. Your safety is paramount. But you need to be aware that this choice for safety might have a negative impact on your fishing, especially in certain situations. It's a compromise you have to make. The ultimate test is to try it for yourself. The next time you go out with a buddy, have one person wear the brightest gear they own and have the other wear the most neutral, boring colors they can find. Fish close to each other in shallow water. See who gets more bites. Don't change any other variables. Use the same bait, same rods, same depth. An experiment like this is the only way to know for sure what works on your lake for the fish you're targeting. The results might surprise you. You might find that it makes a huge difference, or you might find that it doesn't matter at all, but at least you'll know. So what's the final verdict? Can bright clothing be the reason for your complete lack of bites? The answer is a definite maybe. It's not a simple yes or no. It depends entirely on the situation. In deep water with snow cover, wear whatever you want. In shallow water with clear ice, you are absolutely having an impact on the fish, and your clothing color is a part of that. The real takeaway isn't that you must wear a specific color, it's that you must be aware of your presence. Be mindful of your shadow, your movement, and the contrast you create against the sky. Being a stealthy angler is what separates the experts from everyone else. So let's wrap this all up. We've learned that the old debate about bright colors is way more complicated than we thought. It's not always the bright color itself that's the problem, but the contrast, the shadow, and the specific conditions you're fishing in. The biggest twist here, the real aha moment, is that your dark, drab jacket could actually be spooking more fish in some situations by creating a sharp, terrifying shadow from above. The real enemy isn't a color, it's being a sudden, high-contrast blob in the fish's world. This changes everything. It means you have to think like a hunter who is being watched from below. You need to blend in with your background, and that background is usually a bright, white, snowy sky. Suddenly that all-white gear doesn't seem so crazy, does it? Thanks for sticking with me on this deep dive. I hope it gives you something to think about on your next trip out. And if you learned something new today, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more tips that go against the grain. Now, here's my final question for you. After hearing all this, are you going to change what you wear on the ice? Let me know your new game plan in the comments below. Stay safe out there and tight lines.